Today's show is sponsored by our friends at distilleryproducts.com. I could talk about this forever. You already know the drill. If you need awesome laser etch glassware at wholesale prices and you are a bourbon group, you are a store, you're a distillery, you got to talk to the folks at distilleryproducts.com. Reach out to me. I would be happy to get you in touch with them. They have amazing prices and do amazing work at distilleryproducts.com. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Orca Coolers. Make this summer the coolest summer ever with Orca. They have something for everyone, from American-made, lifetime guaranteed hardside coolers to stainless steel whiskey barrel tumblers. They're ready to have your name on it. I got a hard cooler, a soft cooler. I got a few of these whiskey barrel tumblers. I'm getting ready to make my barbecues awesome. Use code DADS20 for 20% off of your order at Orca Coolers. That is code DADS20, and you're going to get 20% off, and that actually means something pretty substantial when you go to get a new cooler. So check them out, orcacoolers.com. Use code DADS20 for 20% off. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Action 24/7. You want action? Get in on the action with Action 24/7, Tennessee's only sports book by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. And y'all have no idea right now how pumped I am. I know I had big news. I wanted to get it out to you last week, but now this week it's good to go. Use code DADS100 and they will match up to $400 of your first deposit. Same code, more money. Use code DADS100. They will match up to $400 of your deposit. Check it out. There's MLB stuff going on. There is soccer stuff going on. Insurance on all of them. Preds home games. Check out all the specials when you go into the app at action247.com or get the app on your phone. Use code DADS100 and get in on the action.
I picked up on a lot of the shit talking. I got that even in the review part. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. I come from a big family, so our love language is shit talking. So it's fine. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drink of Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. Zeke, thank you for fitting time in your day for me. It's very hard to get on your calendar.
It's also equally as hard to fit you in most places.
Not as hard as it was a year ago. I mean, like, I could fit more places now than I could a year ago.
Who said I was speaking physically?
What?
Could have been more like a metaphorical thing.
Like
sticking out like a sore thumb, quote unquote.
What am I sticking out like a sore thumb in?
I don't know. I just want to see where you'd go with that.
You're going very, like, you okay today? You were quiet. We were talking to our friend Tim.
I am a little bitter. So for a while, I've noticed this thing from, I think it's Rona fallout. At least I'm guessing that is what is going on here. But there's a severe lack of public restrooms. I mean, literally, every time I go to a sporting complex or anywhere with the parks and stuff with the kids, bathrooms aren't open. Porta johns are locked up. I mean, it's just absurd. Took the kid to baseball practice earlier. Porta johns are locked up. Here I go meandering off in the woods behind the fields to try and take a leak. Apparently somebody took their kid back there, or it could have been an animal. I don't know. But you can guess what my foot ended up stepping in. So then I spend the whole baseball practice trying to get shit off my shoe. Still ain't got it off, and I still ain't happy about it. So, yes, that could be part of my mood at the moment.
Wait. What shoes were you wearing when you stepped in animal or human shit?
Well, let's be honest here. You think I'm going to wear any kind of good tennis shoe to my son's baseball practice where my ass may have to get out there in that field and run for some reason? You are sleepy over there.
I mean, I just imagine you in a pair of Yeezys out in the woods going to take a leak and stepping in some shit.
That's why you don't wear Yeezys to baseball practice, John.
You got to be looking good for all those single moms out there.
Hey, man, there's not many at practice. They just show up for the games.
Well, we hope to cheer you up a little bit more. And I should have asked him how to pronounce his name before we started recording. But our friend Tim from Jim Beam is on. Tim, how do you say your last name?
It's a weird one. I'm used to this. My last name is Hueisler, It rhymes with Chrysler. That's how you remember it.
A really good host would have asked you as we've been talking for 30 minutes, but I am a shitty host. So I did not ask, and I'm sorry about that.
No, we were talking about whiskey and all the other important things because who cares? We're already on a first name basis, so it doesn't even matter.
Zeke doesn't even put his first name on here. He just puts Easy.
I did that for some reason a while back. I don't remember why. Although, so I did have to get on one of these things the other day. It wasn't Zoom. It was StreamYard or something else. But without going into a whole lot of detail, it was professional and possibly like legal related. And as I sign in, I realized it like pulls whatever name I've had from like other services. I'm like, oh shit, what's this going to say? Luckily, it was just like Ezekiel Baker. And I was like, oh, thank you, God. That didn't say something awful. And I didn't see it for like 10 minutes.
There were some that you've put in here that were like Edward sucks. And like that would be great if that popped in and all of a sudden it was like Edward sucks.
Well, I'm not gonna say I didn't notice it at first, and then when I catch the box with like this, me on the screen, quote unquote, I'm like, hold on, I didn't type a name in for this service. I've never even used it before. Like, what are they pulling this from? Like, oh, what does it even say? Shit.
Well, it sounds like you've had a rough few days. Now, this will come out later this week, but you will see me tomorrow. We are seeing our friend Ryan Megan from Maker's Mark, and hopefully we are going to help blend a great batch of makers that they are going to use for their next community blend. So what's going to happen is there's a bunch of different organizations in the country that are submitting their blend, and we're in the hunt. It doesn't mean that our blend is going to be the one that wins, but we sure as hell hope it is.
I'm intrigued. I've done this once. It was kind of want to, trust your gut and toe the line, and you got to be a little hard and fast about it. But at the same time, I mean, there's so many options. I think you just can't let that be your guide, Edwards. You just got to taste each one and go with maybe the 2 out of the 5 you think make your best base, and then do some tweaking from there. But you can't go fishing for the curveballs, or it's a 3-day process or something, and probably 5 days to sober up.
You know what I think we're going to do here? Now, those of you can't see the room, the virtual room, but Tim keeps popping in and out. Everybody, we called an audible. Unfortunately, Jim Beam doesn't give Tim good computers, and he got kicked out of the virtual room over and over and over. So that whole time that we were just talking for the last like 5, 6, 7 minutes, Tim just kept popping in the room and popping out of the room. So Tim, you're back. We're now doing this through the phone, but we could already tell that you are a cool dude with a sweet ass sleeve. So like, we know you're good people. Welcome back.
Thank you. You saw a brief glimpse of my at-home office setup. Quick glimpse. That's all you need though, because I've been here for so long doing it. You don't need to see much more than a 30-second glimpse.
No, I mean, it's enough for us to know a little bit about you. You got an awesome flat brim Knob Creek hat on. I think that was some show posters behind you.
They're all whiskey posters, but done in the style of concert posters. That's the trick.
That's sweet. Now, what I do is I just have whiskey all behind me, and then it's guitars on the other side. So people don't actually see the guitars, so they still think that I'm not cool.
That means you can just do a music podcast on the other days of the week. You just rotate your chair. It's music one day, whiskey the other. I get it.
Yeah, it's like I have a round table. I just basically, if I sit on one side of the table, I'm doing a music show. If I'm sitting on the other side, I'm doing a whiskey show.
Boom.
But Tim, thank you for coming on. It's great to have you. Now, you work at Jim Beam. Tell us a little bit about you, your story, what got you involved at Jim Beam. Were you a bartender first? How did you pop up in the alcohol industry?
Yeah, I was long time, 13 years hospitality. Grew up in Philadelphia, and I ran a whiskey bar and jazz venue there. I worked there for about 9 years, and amidst other bars and restaurants. And it was there when I went from whiskey being something that was, of course, a hobby and something we utilized in our cocktail menus and had a huge interest in, and it turned into more of a passion. And then I was very fortunate enough to turn it into a career. And I left the restaurants in 2017 to pursue something more spirits and whiskey focused. And Beam Suntory was definitely who I had my kind of sights set on. I had met our master distiller, Fred Noe, and a lot of other people from the Beam Suntory family in my years of working at the bar. And, it was timing. It was a lot of things that led me to this role as their American whiskey ambassador. It's great. I won't sugarcoat it. It's a dream job. I love working with the people I work with. We get to connect all kinds of human beings. I've said for years, I'd say especially this past year more than ever, like working at a bar, I watched a glass of whiskey connect so many different walks of life. And I still am a firm believer in that. And getting to represent Fred No and the Beam family and their products is great. It is a fun gig. And like I said, I'm based up in New York, but when the world was normal, I'm on the road a lot, which is awesome. Get to see family and friends, and I'll be in Nashville later this year, so I'll get to come and actually drink face to face with you fellas, and it'll be a good time.
How many ambassadors are you? We know Beth, we know you. There's not many of them though. Like y'all are like the Marines.
There's not many. There's my colleague Beth in Kentucky. There's myself up here in New York. There's Adam Harris, who's our senior American whiskey ambassador. He's based in Houston, Texas. And there's an open position for our West Coast ambassador role. So typically there is 4 of us. The West Coast role is currently open. So we are accepting applications and resumes for that West Coast ambassador position. Throw that out there into the universe. See what comes back.
Zeke, you gonna apply?
No, I was trying to see if we could spin this into getting like a referral bonus.
That's what I'm doing.
Kids.
That's what I
got 2 kids. What am I going to do?
I mean, our referral bonus is we want a pick. A Knob Creek would be a great pick. Or what's a pick we want, Zeke? That's our referral bonus.
My last name is Baker. That's all I will say.
Oh, I don't know how much I can say about that on this first podcast. But
I know we've already been politely told the number of those that was expected to be done this year, and it did not seem very favorable for
it's not very
little Zeke and John in Nashville, Tennessee.
We got shot down, and they said, "Would you like a Knob Creek rye?"
Yeah, good luck. Good luck on the Baker's Barrel. I got no pull on that either. So nothing. I got nothing for you. I'm sorry.
But it is kind of cool that they are coming.
They are coming. Moving Baker's to the single barrel, away from the small batch. Yeah, they are. There's things happening with that brand. It's exciting. That was one of those OG brands that, that's a cult classic. I like to think people, when you walk into a bar and you order around the Baker's, you just get that nod of approval from the bartender. Like, all right, you're cool. What's up?
Like White Label was always my favorite, but that's just because of price. I mean, especially in college, you couldn't drink Baker's all the time, or you wouldn't be making it through school too well. Might take a hurting on the tuition fees.
If you're going back to college days, for sure, you're going to be a White Label drinker. Myself is more of an Old Overholt drinker, big in the rye world. But when you look for your affordable brands, if there's college kids out there that are ribbing Baker's every night, well, God bless you. I wasn't one of them.
Overholt Bonded has now made its way to Tennessee. That's great. I mean, really good price, really good whiskey.
Yeah, there's some stuff in the pipeline with that. There's you'll see another Overholt line coming to your state, I hope by the end of June.
So how many brands are there with Beam? Because I feel like the list is never ending. The only other place that might rival Beam Suntory for the number of labels under the umbrella is Heaven Hill.
Yeah, I'd have to get out my TI-83, right, and plug away the numbers. But I'll tell you the ones that, so coming out of the James B. Beam house in Claremont, we just mentioned a few of them. We got Old Overholt, we got Old Granddad, we got Old Tub, which was at the distillery, but also now we're doing once a year release. Obviously, you got all the Jim Beam line. So we got Jim Beam Black, and then we got our small batch whiskeys. So we got Basil Hayden's, Knob Creek, Baker's, Booker's. We got Little Book from Freddie No as our kind of Class A blend. We have Legion, which I know we're going to be sipping this evening, which I just had a little sip of myself as I was getting kicked off that call. And I think I just named all of them.
So let me ask you one thing before we get into, there were some whiskeys that were sent to us that we needed to try and talk about on this show. And then there's going to be continuation. We're going to get you down here in person. We're going to really go to town on Beam. But Like Distiller's Cut and the repeal batch and things like that. Why are there so many awesome releases that get popped up and they're really a one-time thing and go away? But it's like Distiller's Cut for $20 was a great pour. That repeal blend was an amazing pour.
Yeah, I mean that's an extremely loaded question. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean we are fortunate enough that we've been distilling whiskey under the Beam last name for 2020. We turned 225 years of distilling whiskey under the Beam last name. So yeah, we're the largest bourbon distillery in Kentucky, and with that being said, we have the ability to experiment, to do one-time releases, to do holiday releases, to do some cool innovations. And I mean, yeah, you just named a few that are great, that people really enjoyed and people really loved. We're not batting 1,000%. You know what I mean? Like no company bats 1,000% when you do those things. But when you do these one-time releases, or LTOs as we call them, it is almost to test the market to see, great, this, like, bartenders love this, or consumers love this, or are who gravitated towards it? Did it sit on the shelves or did it fly off the shelves? And that helps us also tweak where we're going to go in the future. Whiskey doesn't happen overnight. So when we make these projections and we make these calls to put out certain labels or certain bottles, they're not always going to be permanent. They're just not. Some of them do really well and they stick. But as we've seen in the past, some don't do so well and they don't stick. So that's why we do it. You gotta dip your toes in sometimes.
No, I mean, totally wasn't trying to make it a loaded question, and for people that want to actually see it in practice. I mean, I think Old Tub is a great version of it. So What was it? You had the 350 milliliter bottles that came out a few years ago, and it was almost like testing the waters with Old Tub. And then, all right, a few years later, 750s are going to come out and it's actually a release.
And what's wild about that though is, I mean, Old Tub was our brand before Jim Beam was a brand. I mean, Old Tub was David Beam's brand before Prohibition. And so what made Old Tub interesting is it's 100 proof, bottled in bond, 100% unfiltered though. There's no carbon filtration. There's no chill filtration. And that's probably one of the least romantic parts of coming to any distillery tour is the filtration aspect, right? Like all these bourbons are going to get some type of carbon and chill filtration. Old Tub didn't see any of that. That's, again, we're going back to the pre-Prohibition style. So we sold that exclusively at the distillery. You came for a tour, you could buy a little 375 of it. People loved it. People would come for a tour, and that's what they would leave with, is these cool little 375s of Old Tub. And then, we did it as a release last year to see how it went, and it went great. So I think we're going to keep doing an annual release of it. I can't say that I didn't get the 100% green light email yet, but I think we're going to do it as an annual release now of Old Tub, because it's a great 4-year bonded product at a great price.
I think the one thing about Beam that everybody could say is they've always done a good job at putting out great things at affordable prices. So yes, there's going to be those really limited releases that are going to be a little bit higher, but you can get a really good pour from $15 to $30 under the Beam label, and you're going to be happy. Hell, I tell people this all the time. Jim Beam, everybody has a story. They remember going to field parties and drinking too much wild turkey. They remember going to such a place and having, Rebel Yell or having early times. And for me, it was walking up the floor when I transferred to Kentucky. I had Jim Beam taped to the inside of my leg going up Rupp Arena to go watch a Kentucky basketball game. And I love it. I loved that White Label came in the plastic flasks because it was really easy to tape those to the inside of your leg. So, I mean, everybody has the story, and Beam always has a special place in my heart for that story altogether.
And I'll say everyone's got a Beam story. I travel around and I talk with young, old, don't matter. Everyone's got a Beam story, but it's great because they never cease to amaze me. I haven't heard of anyone taping them to their legs yet, though. So,
that's how everybody at UK would get stuff into Rupp Arena. And I mean,
it makes sense.
The first Kentucky Derby I ever went to, I had one taped on each side of my leg.
I'm still confused why you use tape.
Why not?
I mean, we always just wore shit kickers and you put one on each side above each ankle.
Oh, see, this is
No
when I
need for
still had a
tape.
little Boston left in me and it wasn't all gone. Like I hadn't transitioned to cowboy boots in a pickup truck yet. Didn't wear boots. So I guess I could have put one under a fat roll.
Whew. I think that might have altered the flavor.
Kind of like when the dog went after your sample bottles in that blind we just did.
Hey, he just took off the lid. I didn't notice anything else different going on.
But Tim, I feel like you have to have a Beam story because you were saying when you were looking to kind of make that move into brands, you wanted to go with Beam. So what's your Beam story?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everyone's got a Beam story. I'll tell you one of the first times I met Fred. And anytime Fred came to Philadelphia, he would always come to the bar that I was working at, and he would always come in. We'd do a staff tasting. You know, maybe there'd be a dinner or something for some people to come in and do a whiskey pairing dinner, whatever it was. But I remember first time I met him, I was young, impressionable bartender, and he came in like 3 PM, and clearly Fred already probably been to a whiskey tasting or two before showing up to our restaurant. Comes into town, everyone wants to see Fred and do a tasting with him. So he came in and he walks us through the whole Jim Beam line and through small batch. We're drinking Bakers and Bookers, and this is before a 12-hour shift. So as a young bartender, we're pouring big 2-ounce pours of whatever whiskey we can get in front of us before our shift starts. And then he was there for another night. The next night we went to this place called Bourbon Barbara's. Now, Bourbon Barbara's is it's the home of the citywide special in Philadelphia. It's like the dive bar, cash only. When I say home of the citywide, it's a PBR and a shot of Jim Beam. Bourbon Barbara sells more Jim Beam than any other bar in the state of Pennsylvania. I mean, it's what you order there. You get a citywide PBR, shot of Beam. That's what you do. And the next night I was off work, and so I went out with Fred and the whole kind of Beam Centauri and our distributors. They're out to a little bar crawl. And I said, we got to go to Bourbon Barbara's. And Fred said, of course we got to go to Bourbon Barbara's. That's, our one Beam account. And, it's a dive bar, and I would go there on my nights off anyway, kind of rock and roll bar, do some live music. They do drag nights. They do all kinds of stuff. Well, we're coming from like a dinner. So everyone's, wearing a tucked in shirt and a blazer. And like 10 of us walk in, we swing the door open. It's like, you can hear like a pin drop. Everyone turns around and looks at all these dudes walking in tucked in shirts and blazers, like, yeah, you're at the wrong bar right now. And I walk up to the bartender, I'm like, hey, we're here with Fred No. She's like, oh my God, like obviously, like come on in. And so we get around the citywides, and everyone's still kind of, who are these guys in suit jackets? And I'm like, hey, can Fred get the microphone? Because there's a band there. And then Fred stands up and he's like, what's up, y'all? He's like, I just want to say thanks. He's like, my name's Fred No. I'm the 7th generation master distiller, Jim Beam. And the whole place went fucking crazy. Am I allowed to curse on this? I can curse on this,
Yes,
right?
you can curse on this.
Okay, great. Fred cursed so many more times than I do. I'm the 7th generation master distiller, Fred No. What's up, everyone? And the place goes fucking nuts. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, everyone went from like, what the hell is going on, to just like shots flowing. Everyone wants to hang out with Fred because he is the life of the party. He's got stories for days. And I mean, it's contagious. I mean, they're just the family history of what they've done for American whiskey is incredible. And I'll just never forget the night at Bourbon Barbara's, because I always thought, that was like my go-to low-key bar on South Street. And it just, you walked in and could have blown the ceiling off the place. It was great. It was really great. So I just always had a great impression of him and the family and what they've done. So, but that just speaks volumes to Fred. And if you guys haven't met Fred, or anyone out there listening has met Fred, everyone's got a Fred story. Just don't try to go drink for drink with him, because you're going to lose. I'll say that.
I love your Beam story. I think there's two kind of people that come into Beam, and people are either going to come in via the white label door, or they're going to come in via the Basil's door, right?
From a drinking perspective, for sure.
The Basil's group is a little classier. It's a little classier bottle, but different mash bills from the white label and the Basil's, right?
Correct. One thing, and I think mash bill, we always talk mash bill. Mash bill, I'll say it's one ingredient of many. People always want to know the percentages, and we don't disclose the exact percentages. And Fred will always say, he said, it's 3 numbers that add up to 100. He goes, if you can taste the difference between if it was 20% rye or 22% rye, well, come work for me, because I haven't met anyone that can taste that difference yet. You know what I mean? So we don't disclose the exact percentages because there's so many other elements that go into creating a well-rounded, consistent bourbon or consistent rye whiskey, either way you want to look at it. But yes, our mash bill from Beam versus Basil, twice as much rye is going into the mash bill to create Basil Hayden's. I'm going to open up this bottle here. And we're not in person, so I don't know if this will. All right, that's me opening my Basil right there.
Well, you gave away a decent amount there. Somebody wanted to, get that TI-83 back out and really nerd themselves out because, 51%'s got to be corn. And if there's room to put double in one as there was the other, you could probably narrow it down kind of decently.
You could also keep in mind we got some malted barley in there as always. So you can
I'm
figure it out.
I'm ambitious in my old age, but there's a time maybe when I was younger.
You know what Fred would tell you? If you asked him, he said, you got the wrong last name. So unless you got his last name, he ain't telling you. And so I have no comment.
You came in, I feel like you would be more of a white label guy to come into the Beam family, but there is room for Basil's. Basil is 80 proof. It's a higher rye, but the bottle is just a little bit classier than the white label, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a different mash bill. Basil Hayden's is also aged longer than, Beam White Label is a 4-year-old product. Basil Hayden is a blend of different age barrels, but we are seeing so much older barrels getting blended into the Basil Hayden's product, but still bottled at 80 proof. When we talk about Basil Hayden's and the rest of our small batch whiskeys, Basil Hayden's was always the introduction, or we said it earlier, but I think before we started recording, is like this kind of gateway bourbon, right? And it certainly has this elegance, the softness. There's a little bit of spice to it because of that high rye content. For Basil Hayden's, it's always been about being approachability, and like welcoming. Again, I'll go back to my bartending days. If I had a group of guys and gals, they came in happy hour style, and like it's busy, and there's like, I need 5 bourbons. I need 5 bourbons, whether it's neat or it's on the rocks, but like 5 bourbons. We don't have time to look at the menu because you got a bunch on your shelves. Basil Hayden's for me was always a great go-to grab. It's a great bottle to pull up the back bar. It's approachable. Whether you've been drinking bourbon for a long time or you're new to it, you're gonna appreciate it. And so that's where Basil Hayden's for me always played in that, welcoming and approachable category. I think, like you said, a white label drinker, Beam White Label is also, I think, old school style. That's like a statement. Like I drink Beam, and a lot of times it's like, for me, it's a Beam and a beer. Like I was talking about my old dive bar, like that was just a different style of drinking.
You got to have a Beam and a beer.
Got to.
It's almost two different angles on two different spectrums to a degree, because it's the people that either got into bourbon early or got into it late, and from that it kind of spirals down to, well, if you're drinking when you were younger, you were going for whatever the cheapest or bottom shelf was at either your buddies or your own parents house or whatnot. Fair chance it was white label. However, you came around to bourbon later, probably had at least a decent job or whatnot, and you wanted something that looked a little nicer and more well-rounded, such as the Basil bottle. And then also the fact that it is, a softer and easier profile, because if you're easing into it, and you didn't get thrown in there in your teenage years, that one's probably going to come across a little bit better. So to me, it's kind of funny. And I'd almost wonder how many people buy it and then don't, at least early on, even realize they were drinking Beam. You wonder if, would they still buy it if they blatantly knew it was Beam, or would the mental association be like, huh? I don't know about this now. Whoa. You're selling me what?
I've certainly dropped that on plenty of people, at a tasting, at a whiskey fest, wherever we may be. And we said it early on, we'll be at a whiskey fest and someone will look at the table of all the different brands that we're standing there and they go, this is all made by Jim Beam. Said, yeah, there's you got a lot of levers to pull to create all these great whiskeys. But certainly a lot of these whiskeys and brands kind of play in their own sandbox. I guess that's the way to put it. Swim in their own lane, if you will, But yeah, Basil, I've seen it as a great, great gateway for a lot of people that might not have been in the bourbon world before. Are you guys having a pour of this, or am I drinking by myself over here? I don't know, because now we're only on audio.
I am having a pour of this along with you. I admittedly, your folks sent over via Drizzly 2 bottles of this, and I have not seen Zeke. So I am bringing Zeke a bottle of Basil's tomorrow night. I know he's had it before. He just can't partake with us right now. I'm sure he's drinking something else, but
I wish I still had some of the old tub or the repeal batch left, because I bought those in bulk and even hoarded them to a degree, but for the flavor and the price point, they just seem to disappear.
It's crazy how that happens. It's like someone like punched a hole in the bottom of that bottle, right?
I swear, man. I honestly, the repeal batch and then the old tub, both, man. I don't even think, like, people use the term, well, that's my daily or the go-to. Like, it wasn't even that. It was just like, it's just there. It comes to me. I don't even go to it.
I have one bottle of repeal left, and I have 2 bottles of old tub, and I'm just afraid to open them. I mean, I know I will, but I'm afraid to open them because I know they're going to be gone very quickly. Especially if Zeke is around. If Zeke comes to visit me and the two of us open it together, like, we're in trouble.
Well, I'll say it to you, and I say it to everybody. The whiskey's not meant to be looked at. It's meant to be enjoyed.
No, I mean, it's going to be enjoyed. I just don't want it to be enjoyed. Like, it's like this whole COVID thing. It's like we've been talking about. Like, I'd rather be with people and then let me bust it out and be like, hey, here's the Jim Beam repeal batch. Y'all remember how much flavor that came out? What was it, 84, 86 proof, Zeke? I know you remember it.
It was 86.
It was 86. I don't even have a bottle in my apartment anymore.
But it's like there was so much flavor in that 86 proof, and it's one of those things where you could bring it out and just make everybody's night. And it's like, remember that this was like $15 for a bottle? We talk about those limited things, and we're talking about some of the stuff that is coming out, like where we talked about repeal batch and distiller's cut and old tub, but Basil Hayden has also been coming in that game as well with a lot of limited edition offerings. On the rye side, there's some other different limited bourbons that are coming out. What's this innovation all of a sudden with the Basil line? Yeah,
as I mentioned, a rye heavy bourbon, right? It was in 2017. Yeah, 2017 is when Basil Hayden's did its first, limited offering. And we did a one-time release of Basil Hayden's going back to 1992, when it was first released, has always been just Kentucky straight bourbon, small batch bourbon. 2017 is the first time we did a limited release, and it was a Kentucky straight rye, partially finished in quarter cask barrels. Really, really nice offering. Again, 80 proof, one time, out the gate, one and done, see you never. And then the following year is when we released the Basil Hayden's Dark Rye. And the Dark Rye was a Kentucky straight rye blended with 100% Canadian rye and port wine. And I make the distinction, it's blended with port wine. It's a liquid finish. It's not a barrel finish. And that was supposed to be, again, a one-time experimental. Let's see how it does. Let's dip our toes in. And it crushed it. I mean, we couldn't make enough of it. I mean, I go to like Whiskey Fest, I go to tastings, and it's an awesome liquid finish Kentucky straight rye. And now that's a permanent mark for us. And since then we've done some other, we did a Caribbean Reserve rye, it was finished with a blackstrap molasses rum. Now we're doing the 10-year bourbon. So we are, but again, with Basil, 80 proof, approachable. Any of these limited offerings that we do, any of these innovations that we do underneath the Basil Hayden's brand, they're meant to bring people into that category. So that first time rye we did, that was a very step yourself into the rye category. I think rye gets a really bad reputation. That's where the Basil Hayden's brand kind of sits and plays as far as innovations go.
So there's a lot of awesome limited offerings that are coming out. I mean, that's something we've talked about. It's been a theme throughout the whole night. There was one that came out last year. Originally, I remember having it, and it was only at the distillery. And the way I got it was actually at the still house on 4th Street. And then
the Urban Still House.
And then now it is being widely released, and that is Legion. And it's actually a good representation of a merge between Beam and Suntory, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I said it every tasting we do, and every time we have conversations like this, whiskey doesn't happen overnight. We all know that, right? If we could turn it on and make it overnight, well, we'd make it a different spirit. But Beam and Suntory, yeah, we joined about 6 years ago, and Legion is really the culmination of that, of kind of East meets West. And it's Kentucky straight bourbon distilled by, under Fred's eyes. We're talking Freddie and Fred Senior. Fred Senior is still our master distiller. Kentucky straight bourbon. It's partially finished in red wine and sherry casks, and then it's blended by our chief blender from the House of Suntory, Shinji Fukuya-san. And so this really is, America's oldest whiskey making family, the Beam family, and Japan's oldest whiskey making family, the Suntory family, coming together to create Legion. And like you said, it was only available in, I think when we first launched it, it was only in 10 states, cities/states. And that's literally just because we didn't have enough to launch it in every state. It doesn't happen overnight. But now, yes, 2021, I believe by the end of this year, it'll be available in all 50 U.S. states. 94 proof. Well, you mentioned Distiller's Masterpiece before, so it's not the first time we've experimented with finishing bourbon in different casks. But to bring together Fred's distilling methods and Fukuya-san's blending methods was awesome. This is one of the first projects I got to work on when I joined the company, and it's been awesome to see, where it's gone, where it started, and now finally some of the recognition it's starting to get.
Now, is this something that will stick around for the foreseeable future, or is this released in 50 states? You better get a case if you really like it, because it's going to be gone.
No, this is here for the long haul. This is going to be a brand we continue to make. This bringing together of East meets West and bringing these two cultures together is super important for us from a company standpoint. There's not many companies that can bring together these two families and create a whiskey like this. Definitely, yeah, here for the long haul. This one is not going anywhere. But hey, I'm not going to stop you from going and buying a case. You want to go buy a case? Go buy a case. You want to buy a case? Go buy 2 cases. There's my sales pitch. You want to go buy it. But no, this is not going to be a one and done. This is here.
This, to me, when I first had it, reminded me a little bit of Beam Celebration. And for the price point of this, it's like $30 for this one, isn't it?
35. But again, every state is slightly different. Man, I mean, being up here in New York, I hope everyone can get it for $35. That's about, yeah. So this was intended to come to market at a $35 price point. But every state, you're going to see variations, a few dollars here and there.
You're going to have to just come down here, get a whole bunch of stuff, and then drive home.
Yeah, I know. I got to get down there. I know. It's different.
New York is awful.
It's not great.
And you work there. I mean, you work in the industry. And how bad is that for you to go to these liquor stores and be like, I work for the company, and that bottle of Legion should not be $99.99.
I have to deliver those texts or emails to people. So yeah, it does. It pains me though sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. It does pain me sometimes because supply and demand. That's part of the whiskey industry. We all know it. We all see it. Everything is what you put the value on. That's why, like I said, it's meant to be enjoyed, not looked at. So yeah, I walk around liquor stores in every state, and sometimes I'm like, God dang, this is crazy. But we're also spoiled. I mean, y'all are spoiled too. We're drinking sample bottles, and you get to try a lot of cool stuff. So we're very lucky to do that. But I definitely price tag shock is very real this time of year.
Yeah, very real this time of year and very real in the fall. But we hope that we are going to get to see you in person by the time the fall comes. We can't wait for you to come to Nashville and spend some time with us. But it's been great spending a good hour with you here tonight. I know I will cut myself out of this as much as I possibly can because I talk too much. Tim, thank you for coming on and talking about Jim Beam.
It's my pleasure. Well, I can't wait to do another one. The next one will be in person for sure. Yeah, the virtual world, man, I'm over it. I'll say a shout out to all the whiskey drinkers out there that have been hanging out with us on virtual tastings or on Instagrams or on podcasts. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the the support, but I just can't wait to drink a glass of whiskey face to face with as many of you as possible. I can't say all of you because I might get in trouble. I might be dangerous, but as many of you as I can possibly handle. So no, I can't wait to get down there. I appreciate y'all having me on tonight.
We can't wait to do it again. We can't wait to do it in person. And you have a place to crash at Zeke's Airbnb. So
that's right.
Yeah. Come on down.
There's only 130 Glencairns there. We might need to get another case if we're going to bring everybody, We'll see.
I mean, I don't know if we need Glens if we're just going to roll with White Label and Pabst. I think we can find a way to get by.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
I will tell you, though, I did notice I was just over at Zeke's B&B a couple weeks ago, and I was dropping some stuff off to him, and I was looking at his Glens, and I'm like, 24 of these Glens are mine. And I know because they are laser etched with things that Zeke has never heard of in his whole entire life. And I'm like, shit, I left these here when we used to record at the B&B all the time. But, I have so many Glens now that I really don't need to get them again. He can keep them.
It's like if you need some fresh ones, I'll bring down some Jim Beam ones for you. So I can make that happen.
Well, we can't wait.
There's usually some folks around so that the advertising will go well, I'm sure.
Well, Tim, thank you. The folks can find Jim Beam everywhere. It's like Jim Beam Official on Instagram, Jim Beam Stillhouse. But Tim, where can people find you? Do you want people to follow you?
Sure. I will. Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the grams. I'm T Hueisler, but good luck spelling my last name. It's T and then, Hueisler, it's a weird one. It's Heuisler. But I said earlier, I love that you guys post more than just whiskey. And I'm certainly a firm believer in more than just whiskey. And so you'll see that, on my pages. We try to bring the bartending community back together. We've been working on like a jogging program with Knob Creek. We got a Knob Creek jogging club going on right now. Concert venues are starting to come back. Music's starting to come back. So there's certainly a lot of whiskey on there, but there's also a lot of other things. And you also got to deal. I got 8 nieces and nephews, so you got to deal with pictures of them as well. So I'm not a dad who drinks bourbon, but I'm an uncle that drinks bourbon. So
Yeah, and honestly, for us, I mean, when you put the name Dad in your title, you kind of have to show being a dad, or else people think you're not a very good dad if you're just posting whiskey all the time.
It's true.
Yeah. The most important thing that came from this, though, is we have a new friend, and doors always open for you, bud, and we can't wait to hang out. But until then, the folks can find us on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dad, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Find us wherever you download your podcast. You already have because you're listening to us right now. Tim, thank you again.
Pleasure's mine. You can't see me, but I'm raising a glass in the air in my apartment by myself to both of you and to everyone out there. So y'all enjoy your night, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will chat very soon, I'm sure.
We will. Zeke, where else could the folks find us?
Good old Nashville, Tennessee.
Ciao.
Best ending ever.